In a dazzling African kingdom long time ago, King Adeolu ruled with might that shook the earth. His wealth and riches defied measure. His name echoed through the ages, a sovereign who commanded an army so fierce it toppled kingdoms and shattered thrones, amassing a legion of servants and slaves that stretched beyond the horizon. His dominion was vast, his power unmatched, and his possessions uncountable. Palaces of marble, vaults of jewels, and lands that bowed beneath his scepter. Yet for all his grandeur, the king's heart belonged to one treasure above all: his son, a boy of 17 years named Eniton, the sole heir to his throne. Eniton, cloaked in the privileges of his father's greatness, walked the palace halls in all respect. Servants knelt at his passing, and no whim of his was ever denied. He lived wrapped in his father's glory, certain no one could rival King Adeolu. However, beneath his gilded life, a restlessness stirred. Whispers from distant lands reached his ears, tales of other kings, other crowns, whose glory might rival his father's. Doubt like a shadow crept into his heart. Could there be a sovereign greater than the king he called father? One bright morning, Eniton strode into the throne room, his chin high and eyes alight with purpose. King Adeolu, seated on a throne, his crown glinting, looked down with a father's warmth. "Father," Eniton began, his voice steady but bold, "I hear of other kings, their names sung in far-off lands. Some say their wealth and might challenge yours. I cannot believe it, yet the whispers gnaw at me. Let us silence them. Call an assembly of all your subjects, every soul in your kingdom. Display your treasures, your armies, your slaves. Count them before the world, so all may know your greatness and tremble. Let other kingdoms hear and fear you." The king's face, weathered by battles and wisdom, softened with a knowing smile. He leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "My son, to count slaves in their presence is to stir sorrow in their hearts. It is not necessary to parade what is already known. My power speaks for itself." But Eniton, unyielding, pressed his case, his youthful pride drowning out his father's counsel. Day after day he begged, his voice a constant drumbeat, until the king, his heart heavy with love, gave in. "Fine," the king said, his tone thick with unease. He summoned his chiefs and lieutenants, ordering a grand gathering in the market square. The proclamation went forth. Drums thundered, summoning every soul, every servant, soldier, and slave was to gather in the market square before the palace, where the king would unveil the full measure of his dominion. But something hung in the air, a tension that prickled Eniton's skin. What was his father hiding? The day arrived, the air thick with anticipation, the square packed with a sea of faces, nobles in silks, soldiers in gleaming armor, and slaves with bowed heads. Eniton stood at his father's side, his chest puffed with triumph, certain this moment would etch his father's supremacy into eternity. The king ascended the platform, his presence commanding silence. His voice, rich and resonant, rolled over the crowd as he recounted his conquests. Battles that felled empires, thrones that crumbled at his feet. The crowd roared, their loyalty a living flame. Then the king turned to Eniton, his eyes glinting with something unreadable. "But let me tell you, my son, another tale, one I have kept close." The square went deadly quiet, the air thick with suspense. Eniton's pulse raced. What was coming? "When I first became king," King Adeolu said, his voice slow, each word heavy, "I led my army against a rival land. We brought back many captives and slaves, including a woman named Ariyibi. Ariyibi was fierce, her spirit unbroken, though her eyes held a deep sadness. She worked in my palace, serving meals, tending gardens, and I came to respect her strength. What I didn't know was that she was pregnant, carrying a child from before she was captured." The king's gaze locked onto Eniton, and the boy's breath caught, his heart hammering. When her time came, Ariyibi gave birth in the palace under a stormy sky to a strong baby boy. But she was too weak. She died moments after holding him. "That boy, Eniton, is you." A gasp tore the crowd, then silence sharp as a blade. Eniton's face paled, his legs trembling. The word slave echoed in his mind. Captive? Him? The word burned, shattering everything he thought he was. The king's voice softened, but it hit like a hammer. I raised you as my son, hiding your past. Ariyibi was so loyal. People thought she was my wife when she had you. And with most captives and slaves at her time sold or freed, no one knew I wasn't your real father until now. If I were to count my slaves today, Eniton, you'd be the first. Eniton's eyes burned with shame, his world unraveling. The crowd watched, breathless, as the king stepped closer, his voice now a tender rebuke. Did I not warn you, my son? To count a slave in their presence stirs up sorrow in their heart. There's more, Eniton. Your mother Ariyibi wasn't just anyone. She was a healer's daughter, skilled in ancient remedies. Even as a captive, she saved my soldiers from fever, mixing herbs by candlelight, and that's why she lived with me in the palace. She demonstrated the truth that, notwithstanding the origin or prevailing circumstances, every man certainly has something great in them to give. Her courage runs in you, and I hope you use it to bring joy to others too. And me? I wasn't born to this throne. I was a soldier's son, fighting my way up to protect this kingdom. Every jewel, every horse I earned to keep our people safe, not to boast. Years ago, I wanted to show off too, but my father warned me, pride wounds deeper than a sword. I listened. You didn't. That's the secret to the crown. For what makes us different from one another, if not our forgiven past? The hidden aspects of our lives that now unlock opportunities and privileges beyond our wildest dreams. Having the understanding that there is nothing we have that we have not received. And if all we have received, why make others who are yet to receive feel doomed? The whole marketplace remained silent, the lessons sinking deep. Eniton, humbled, stood smaller than before, his pride scattered like ashes. The king placed a hand on his shoulder, his love unshaken. Every soul has a past, he said, loud enough for all to hear. We are all redeemed from some shadow, all lifted from some fall. Never scorn another, and don't hurt someone who's already down. What separates the empowered from the oppressed is often the narrative of their past. While some are held back by theirs, others rise above it, unlocking their true potential. The gathering ended quietly, the crowd slipping away, their minds racing with the king's words. Eniton trudged back to the palace, no longer the cocky prince, but a boy reeling from a truth that stung. King Adeolu watched him go, knowing hard lessons build strong hearts. As the sun sank, the golden spires stood tall, guarding the kingdom's secrets, its stories of pain and hope woven into its walls. From that day, Eniton carried a new weight, not of shame but of purpose, to honor his mother's strength and his father's truth, to rule not with pride, but with a heart open to all. Now, like and share with others before this is gone. Also, subscribe to our channel, Message in the Marketplace, for more inspirational stories like this.